Hello, and welcome back to Missy Reno Smith.
And I'm Vanna Smith, and today we're going to be talking about prayer. I know for me, I don't really pray all that often. I kind of only pray for like the big health stuff, big things in life, big things that I want. When I pray, I don't like to pray for the little things because I feel like, at least for me in my own personal relationship with God, it's like the little things just aren't as important to me. I kind of feel like if I ask for too much, maybe that he won't give it to me. So can we ask for like too much from God? Too much? Can we pray too often?
No, we really can't. And God is listening. God hears all of our prayers. Does God answer all of our prayers? No, not in the way that we always want them to be answered. But we can't ask for too much, so you don't have to worry about like hitting some sort of like quota, like you're done. I've asked
I prayed
for
too
enough.
many times today. Dang it, he's not listening anymore.
Yeah, it just doesn't work that way. And remember, God's not just a he. There's two sides to God, so.
Together,
There's two sides, the male and the female side working together. And so, and the female side, I kind of consider the action side. So in that regard, it could be that the female side is the one answering our prayers. When
ladies get stuff done.
Yes, we do. We get things done. So yeah, no, you can't ask for too much. I don't think that you have to worry about that. But I think I'm a bit more like you. I'm not praying constantly. I pray daily.
Yeah.
I pray every single day. I pray for my family. I pray for my friends. I pray for my clients.
I'm more of a maybe a couple times a year prayer person.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty, that's not very often.
Yeah.
I think that we should speak to God daily. But in my communications with God, I'm not always asking for something specific. I often ask God to bring us blessings, whatever that might be, because I don't always know what the right thing is. I might want, lots of money, or I might.
Absolutely, I want to get rich quick.
Yes, but I don't know if that's right for me. I don't know, my plan in life, what I'm supposed to experience. God knows best, not me. So I try to leave my prayers sort of open. I just ask for blessings. I do ask for specific things when it's warranted, like for health things,
Yeah.
I'm very specific. I want somebody to feel good. I don't want to feel sick myself. I don't want other people to feel sick. I want wellness, and so I'm very specific about that. But as far as, if I feel like my life isn't going the way that I want it to go at the moment, I just ask God to come in and fix it, whatever that might be.
For me, I'm a lot more specific with my prayers. Like, I want this specific thing to happen, I want this and that. Is it better to be more specific, or is it better to be kind of more in general like you?
Well, it depends. It depends on what I'm doing. When I'm talking to God, I'm always acknowledging that God knows best.
Yep.
God just knows better than me, And, but when I'm using the law of attraction, manifestation, that's when I get more specific.
Yep.
So these two topics are actually closely related,
Are they kind of the same thing?
Sort of, but I still see them as being different. They're related. It's about changing our life. It's about, making our life better.
Yep.
And so this is how they sort of cross over. I mean, we are creators because we were created in God's image, which means that each and every child of God is also a creator. So we do have the power to change our life.
Yep.
And we should be using that power to bring about the changes that we want. But then also, our creator's watching over us and, can come in and make big changes or little changes where it is needed as well.
But we plan out like our entire life plans before we come here. And then, we put in things we don't necessarily like, while we're here, don't want, like a hard lesson, something that's difficult. So then we pray to try to, change it, maybe someone has a family member that's sick, and that was in their life plan. And so they're trying to pray, to help alleviate their illness, but would that necessarily even work because it is in their life plan, So they were meant to get sick or maybe die from it or just continue getting more sick or get better later on. So does it really even change anything?
It can. It absolutely can. We write these plans out before we come into these bodies. We all sit down together and we say, okay, we're going to come in. I'm going to be your mom. You're going to be my daughter.
Be my mama.
We're going to learn all these lessons together. And sometimes we bite off more than we can chew.
Yeah.
We're up there and everything's perfect. And I'm like, I can do it. We can do it. Right. Yeah. And then we get here and we're like, whoa, I can't. This is really hard.
Yeah.
And so that's when we are praying and asking God to change things. Does God listen? It depends. If we, are we just being whiny? I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Are we just like having a moment of doubt? God knows if it's just that. God knows if we're strong enough, if we can do it.
Yeah.
But if we have truly bit off more than we can chew, God can change it. Absolutely. So I think it's absolutely worth it to pray. If you're struggling and you want something to change, to ask God to help you change it. But don't sit around and just wait for it to fall in your lap either. I mean, we have to be doing our part.
Yeah, you got to put in some work too.
Yeah, we have to do everything in our power to make our situation better. And, God works through us and through other people. Mm-hmm. And so, sometimes God is just, giving us the message of how to fix our life. God might sort of speak to us, and maybe you don't hear like a big booming voice, but
you just see Morgan Freeman standing in front of you.
Yeah. So Morgan Freeman doesn't always just just appear for everybody and tell you how to fix it. But it would be awesome if that happened. It'd make it a lot easier.
I would love to see Morgan Freeman.
That would be awesome, truly. But sometimes it's just all of a sudden I have an idea.
Yep.
And I know how to fix it. And so God can work through us in that way. Can God just, come down and like touch us and it's all fixed? I believe, yes. I've seen miracles, mm-hmm. and I know a lot of people who have. So this can happen as well. I would say it's probably more rare, but typically, God is working through us and through other people. So it is worth it.
But when God makes those changes, because we plan out our life plans, but when he makes those big changes, big miracles happen, does our higher self sort of work with him in changing our life plan? Because if a big miracle happens, say like someone has like cancer or something and they were going to die, but then they were like kind of, I don't know, saved, right? Well, that's a huge change in their life plan, so you have to go back over it. So does he help us make those changes in life plan, or does he just do it for us?
Okay, so if a change is made in the life plan, everybody has to sort of be on board. Your higher self has to be on board. God isn't going to, change. Your earthly self might want the change, but your higher self might be saying, no, I can do it. I'm going to do it. But if we're saying, no, we need to make this change, a lot of things have to happen. And angels are... they move us around like chess pieces. Our guardian angels do. Archangels and dominion angels, they are sort of like code masters, and they're sort of tweaking the matrix, so to speak. And so if we need to make a change, all these other changes need to happen, and they make that happen, so that whatever is taking place is going to fit with the plan.
So God just agrees to make the miracle happen, and then you'll just kind of come together and go, okay, let's figure this out.
Yeah. So it's no small thing to change a life plan, but it can happen. But remember too, we write into our plans the ability to overcome these things. I mean, we're here to learn and grow. We're here to overcome, adversity, and we're here to be challenged and to get through it. So not everything needs to be fixed. Most things we get through it. We move through it, and then we look back on it and we're like, wow, I can't believe I came through that. It was really tough, but I did it.
So God isn't answering every single one of our prayers. So it's kind of just like half of our prayers are just sort of for us almost, like our own comfort.
Well, God's always listening.
Yeah.
And so God is doing everything possible to comfort us. But that doesn't always mean giving us what we want. If we were all driving Ferraris, what would we be learning if we all just had everything? And
What if I don't want a Ferrari? What if I just want like a cat? I want a cat right now. So can I just pray for a cat and suddenly it just appears right in front of us?
A cat could walk down the street and I don't know. Yeah, is it going to
It's
just...
not the same.
It's not the same. Yeah, just you want something to just like appear in front of you.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, God makes appearances or through, and through God's angels, and there's many people who have had those experiences. I have those experiences where I get to see them as a psychic medium, and it doesn't mean that when I see them, they're coming in and they're fixing everything for me, though, because I'm here to learn and grow. So I think sometimes the best gift that God can give us is space to deal with what we're supposed to deal with. But that doesn't mean that God doesn't do anything. God is up there.
He is always listening.
Yeah, God is always listening, and God doesn't want us to suffer. It's us that is choosing. Like, you chose to come here and to go through the lessons that you're going through.
Yeah.
You chose it. God just says, hey, if you want to come, if you want to learn and grow, I have this place for you. There's a safe space where you can go and do that, and you can experience, negativity and also positive, wonderful things as well here. But this is the space where we experience that, so that we're not doing it in heaven, which is a perfect place. I mean, this is a stage. You're here to do it on the stage. So you agreed to do all of this.
Wish I didn't. Wish I didn't.
We all wish I think we all at some point are like, why did I choose this?
Yeah.
But it's really important, I think, to understand that, because if we think that God is doing this, if we think that God is causing all of this suffering, that strains our relationship with God. And God only has 3 things for us. That's 3 gifts, I should say, is health, wealth, and happiness.
Yeah.
God wants us to be joyful. God wants us to have prosperity, not just money, but to have more than enough of the things that we want to need. And God wants us to be well. Those are the things that God passes out to us. God's not passing out negativity. God is just allowing us to go through the negativity that we chose to go through.
So is there like a certain way that we could pray that God would really hear us? Like it wouldn't be maybe just like one of the every other prayers that he would hear, or like the ones that he might not answer. Is there a way that we could pray where he could would really listen, would really want to answer? Or they, I said he. They.
And it's hard to get out of that habit.
Yeah.
That's okay. Okay. Is there a special way to pray? I am a very casual person in that regard. Ritual is not my thing.
Yep.
God does not require ritual for anything. Could you light a candle? Could you do something? Sure. If it makes you feel better, I think you should.
Yep.
If it makes you feel like it's giving your intention more energy, write it down. light a candle, do whatever you want. I just speak to God. That's all I do. I just talk to God. And I talk to God in my head or out loud. I do it both ways. But typically I speak to God in my mind. Now I guess it's a little maybe easier for me because I can hear back, with as a psychic medium. I understand that it's a little more difficult for other people who aren't getting, some immediate feedback. Not that it's always God's voice coming to me. Sometimes it's my angels or, and they're saying, we hear you, Missy. we know, we hear you.
We heard you. You can stop talking now.
and I talk a lot. But no, it's you don't have to do anything special. Just do what feels right to you. That's what I tell my clients. Like, what feels right? What do you feel comfortable, doing? I like to speak in present tense. I like to speak as if I already have whatever I'm asking for.
The law of attraction.
That's a law of attraction thing, right? I use that in my prayers as well. And I like to give gratitude. As a matter of fact, when I get out of the bed every morning, as soon as my feet hit the ground, I say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I thank God for today. So giving gratitude, I think, is important. Is God going to not answer your prayer because you forgot to say thank you? No.
Yeah.
But I think it's powerful to give gratitude.
It's just a little showing you're grateful.
Yeah, I think it's important to do that. I am grateful for each day, even the tough days.
So you wake up every morning and you're like, typically my first thought is, like, what time is it? I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta do all that. But then you're just like, you wake up, I gotta say thank you. I gotta say thank you. I gotta pray.
No, but it's habit.
Yeah.
It's habit. So as I'm getting up and it takes me a while to get up. But as I'm getting up, no, when my feet hit the ground, I just in my head I say thank you. And God knows that message is for God, I don't necessarily say, "Oh, God, thank you for today" all the times. I'm very casual. God knows when I'm speaking to God.
So you're saying, "Hey, thanks."
Yeah, I speak to God like I would speak to a family member.
Yeah.
Because God is a family member.
Yeah.
And I don't have to address God in a way that to show their superiority. They don't look for that. They're not asking for that. They're not asking to be quote unquote worshipped. They're the perfect parents.
Yeah.
And a good parent doesn't ask their child to worship them.
Mm-hmm.
So I just talk to God just like I would talk to my own parents.
So how does the law of attraction really differ from praying? Because it is they're both so similar. It is kind of, I don't know, even hard for me to really understand how it is different.
Yeah, they are different, but they're the same. I get it. It is difficult to differentiate, and maybe that's why I sort of don't. For me, it kind of all runs together. Maybe that's why when I pray, I use the present tense, just like, if I'm doing something, trying to manifest. And, ultimately prayer is we're trying to manifest. So it's just, we are, I think when we're praying, we're being very specific, praying to our Creator. We're asking our Creator specifically to come in and to help us to change something or to help somebody else.
Yeah.
Most of my prayers are about other people, family, friends, clients, and that. But I think, with the law of attraction, I guess when I'm using that, when I'm trying to manifest, I feel like I am trying to affect the energy of this dimension, maybe. Mm-hmm. Trying to get everything to flow the way that I want it to flow, to bring the things that I want to bring. I feel a lot more, I think when I'm praying to God, I think a lot of what I'm asking for is stuff that I feel maybe a little helpless about, things that I don't see how I can change it. Or I think with the law of attraction, I guess maybe I'm it's more about stuff that I feel.
You can see the things you can visualize.
Yes, if that makes any sense.
I think that kind of, I think to me makes a lot more sense. Law of attraction is when you can visualize it on your own, but prayer is more like a, and also I guess, prayer is more like a, you can't quite visually, you don't quite know where to go, but the difference also kind of is that prayer is more like asking for something instead of trying to just kind of push it your way a little bit. I mean, they're both kind of similar in that way, but they're a little bit different there.
Yeah, it's really hard to differentiate. But I think so. Yeah, I think when I'm praying, I'm asking God. And maybe this is why I'm not very specific. It's because I don't know what the best answer is.
Yeah.
I don't know what the best solution to my problem is, and so I'm asking my Creator to come in and solve it. Help me solve it. To solve it for me, or help me do whatever. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But I think with the law of attraction, with manifestation, I feel like I do have a more clear path of what I want. I can see it, and I'm I'm asking the universe, I'm asking God, I'm asking everybody, I guess, to help move me in that direction.
And when you're using the law of attraction, typically you're not kind of asking for miracles like you would with prayer,
Perhaps it depends, I guess. I think sometimes we are.
Yeah.
This is why they overlap, and it's really hard to differentiate. It might even come down to, just one's personal beliefs, really, too. Like, not everybody understands our Creator the same way.
Yeah.
Some people just consider the universe to be, our Creator and such. And so maybe they wouldn't gravitate towards what we would call prayer, speaking to a Creator, but rather they're just, going to think of it as just being a force, maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's very personal, I think, to every person. And so as we're talking about it, it's hard to say, prayer is this and law of attraction is that exactly. They cross over, and ultimately it just comes down to your personal belief system and and your style, like what you're okay with. Not everybody's okay speaking out loud.
Yeah. I don't like to speak out loud when I pray. I just always do it kind of in my head. I just kind of sit down in a quiet room, and I just kind of close my eyes. I just kind of say what I want to say in my head, and I just sort of go about my day,
I feel that that's perfect. You're communicating with your Creator. It's a private thing.
Yeah.
Your Creator absolutely has access to your thoughts. I think it's very important that we recognize that not everybody has access to your thoughts, but your Creator does.
Yeah.
Your guides, your angels, your loved ones in heaven, they're not in your mind all day long. But God certainly is receiving your thoughts.
Yeah.
And so it's okay that there's nothing wrong with the way that you're doing that. That's perfect.
So because he is hearing my thoughts, and I'm doing it that way, and we think maybe thousands of thoughts a minute, at least I do. Is it better to take that moment, or could I just pray as I'm just walking down the street, living my life, doing my thing? Is it better to sit down and do it, or just continue on, whatever?
It's no better either way. It's whatever you want to do.
So he's paying attention to every little thought I'm having.
Yeah, God knows.
How embarrassing.
It's not. God is aware of, this human experience that we're all having.
Because I guess he created it.
Yeah, God created it. And so we don't have to be embarrassed about any thought that comes into our mind, whether it's an angry thought, mean. So we might think something that's mean or angry at, we might have a sexual thought. Those we don't have to be embarrassed about either. But there's a lot of stuff that goes through our head. God knows what is meant for God. And, God's not really caring about,
He's not judging it.
No, there's no judgment. There's no judgment.
I would judge my thoughts. I judge my own thoughts.
We do. I suppose we do. But we can relax. We can relax a little bit. I have a different path than most people, and because as a psychic medium, I have to be able to communicate with spirits and angels and such, and they have access to my thoughts. So my thoughts are not as private as somebody else's are. So in addition to God hearing all of my thoughts, so too do the spirits and angels that I'm connecting with. And that felt, realizing that felt a little funny to me.
Yeah.
But it's just my path. It's just what I've always known, and I'm okay with it. But I think when I first realized that, when I was probably a teenager, I was a little weirded out.
So they were always kind of reading your thoughts, your angels, or you just sort of like opened it up?
Yeah, they just have total access.
Do they have access to everyone's, or is it just purely you? Like, could an angel sort of like need to hear my thoughts for a moment, and could they do that?
Well, God can, if they would need to, God, I always say God can relay a message.
Yeah.
And so if somebody needs to know what you're thinking, that can be relayed. But ultimately, the guides, angels, and spirits, they always tell me, they always say, we're not reading everybody's thoughts.
Yeah.
It's, but apparently mine and other people like me, they seem to have access to. I'm very open to it. It could just be me that I'm open to allowing them to. There might be a difference with other people who do what I do. Maybe they don't allow it, but I find just living very open like this to make my job easier.
Yep.
But I think this brings up an important point is, prayer, we ask for help from our guides and our angels.
Yeah.
We're not praying to them. I consider prayer to be for God.
Yeah.
I don't pray to any other being.
Yeah.
I can talk to them. I can ask for help, but I still don't consider that prayer.
It's different.
I do. I differentiate between the two. So I tell my clients, talk to your angels. Talk to them. Ask them to help you. Ask them, hey, what do you have for me today?
Yeah.
Try to build a connection with them. But remember that prayer is for God.
Mm-hmm.
When you're praying and that's between you and your Creator. So, but does it ultimately matter? I don't know. For me, I just think it's important to keep my prayers for God.
So what are some tips to sort of like help people better connect with their Creator?
Well, one thing that I think is important is to be consistent. I think that people should, connect with their Creator regularly, build a relationship with your Creator, talk to God, pray to God, talk to God. It doesn't have to be daily, but maybe once a week or once a month if people are just not into it. But I think it's important to have some sort of habit, like you're connecting, you're helping as you're growing your relationship with God, it helps you sort of better receive from God. You start to, pick up on the nuances of the messages. Yeah. So that's why I tell people to do that. I also think that it can be helpful when people come together to pray. So if there's something that's you're really struggling with, get other people praying too.
Like your family, your friends.
Yeah. I love to start prayer chains. When I have a client who is going through something very difficult, and I'll ask if it's okay if I get a prayer chain going. And I have some really cool people in my life who are always happy to pray for anybody that I might bring their way. And so get help. ask your family, ask your friends, or if you belong to, any sort of like organized religion, you can go to your place of worship and
Yeah.
get help and ask for them to pray for you. So I think coming together is powerful.
Yeah.
You get a lot of people asking. You're getting a lot of energy behind what it is that we're trying to fix.
So basically, is praying kind of like the only real way to really build your relationship with God, or is there other ways people can find as well?
Well, I think communicating with God is one of the biggest ways
Yeah.
to build your relationship with God. To just to be thinking about God, I think that's helpful too. I mean, I think about God all the time. I think about what's happening in my life and the things that I say and I do and I think, and I'm hoping that I'm doing well, not because I'm worried about judgment or anything, but the whole point of coming here is to learn and grow, and to be more like our Creator, our perfect parents. And so I like to just examine, my thoughts, my speech, and my actions, and am I hitting the mark or not? So just sort of thinking about God, and and bringing bringing God into your process, I guess, of how you're doing in life. So I do that daily. I don't know, maybe not everybody does.
Should we think of God a certain way? Because like I like to think of God as like Morgan Freeman sitting in a chair. He's up there in the clouds with his like giant filing cabinets that might just impale you.
Just like, what movie was that?
That was in God, what was it called? Bruce Almighty.
Bruce Almighty.
Yeah, when he opens up that filing cabinet and it like goes so far out, he like gets hit by the wall on his stomach.
Well, that would be funny. Our Creator is we are made in our Creator's image, or images, right? There's two sides to God, the male and the female side, and so you can think of God as being however you want to. And so if you want to think of God as being like Morgan Freeman, I think that's great. I think giving God a visual helps you relate to God better. This is why when I read for clients, I like to describe what their angels look like, because it helps you better relate to them. Mm-hmm. And that, well, the same thing goes with God. If you can put a visual to that, you can better relate to. I bring people to heaven. You've done this. Yeah. I bring people to our Creator, and everybody sees our Creator differently, which is incredible. And how did you see our Creator?
Well, when I went to go see him, I did not see him as Morgan Freeman. Saw him as Oobleck.
Oobleck.
Which, for people that don't know what that is, it's like, think of like slime, but it's like a mix of like cornstarch or something and then water or something like that. If you hit it, it's hard. But he was like a little tiny thing on the ground, like cartoony. He was like blue, kind of like iridescent, blue, purple, greenish colors, right? And he was just kind of like on the ground saying hello.
Yes, and I had never seen that before. Never seen anybody who saw God as Oobleck.
Yeah.
But if somebody was going to do it, it was certainly going to be you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And although you were disappointed because you were hoping for Morgan Freeman.
I was hoping for Morgan Freeman, and everyone else that I had talked to that went to go like see God, with you, was always like, oh, he's like a big cloud, or he's like in the sky or whatever. The aurora borealis is what some people saw it as.
Some people see his light.
Yeah, or like big hands and whatever. And me, I was just like, oh, little guy on the ground.
And that's okay. God appears to everybody the way that they need to perceive them and to understand and relate to them.
Yeah.
And so however they do that is just great. But
I related to God as Oobleck on the ground looking up at me.
See, I like that. I like that. And which was not intimidating, right?
Yeah. It was cartoony. It was funny. It was very enjoyable. Very, very much my personality.
Yes. And God knows you and loves you. God knows each and every one of us, and God knows what we need. So yeah, so when I take people there, I'm always excited about how I get to see God that day, for that person. It's really fun, but I do think it helps you relate to God better. And so you don't necessarily need somebody like me to take you there. I'm not even sure that other people like me do that. There must be others. I'm not aware. But if you just think of, create your own picture in your mind.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't have to be what you think God should be. Maybe it's what do you want God to look like. That's fine. And visualize that, picture that, use that image to help you relate to God better. It's just something that seems to work for a lot of people, and so I think just trying it. Otherwise, we're just thinking of this sort of like, being this, overwhelming, like large being of, of what, of light, of something. I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's hard to relate to something that you haven't seen. And so give God an image.
How do you see God?
I see God as being a very, very large version of us. Remember, there are two sides to God that are sort of working together.
Yep.
The female side, she is very, very curvy.
Curvy lady.
She's a curvy lady. And having sort of, I guess to me, she looked, I described her once as like maybe somebody from Brazil or something. Like that's just how
very curvy, very beautiful.
Very curvy, very beautiful, sort of darker skin color, beautiful. And that's how I see the female side to God. At the male side, very large again, bigger in size than we are, but the same, proportions and such, the same, shape that we have. But very, very, very large, and I've only seen his face a couple of times, but it was very hard to relate his face on earthly terms,
Looks more alien?
Well, alien, when I think of alien makes me think of something like from a movie or that, but yes, alien just as being different.
Yeah.
So kind of different, but maybe having some features like somebody from Asia or something. But ultimately, it's really hard to put our Creator or put anybody from heaven into terms that we sort of understand. These earthly cultures and things. Like you can see maybe some similarities here and there, but this is the way that we look here it is different than how we look in heaven.
Does the male side have like the same skin color as the female side, or is it different?
No, they were different. For me, how I see them, they're very different. And her skin was much darker than his, and that, but and heaven is filled with people and angels with skin colors of and colors that we don't even have here, like just so many colors, and it's very beautiful. It's very I guess it's just beautiful. I don't know another word to put it, but it's just very different from here. There's just so much more than there is here. But just, coming up with your own image, something to visualize, that just might help you relate to God better. And, maybe to somebody, God is just space, just the universe, and that's okay too, if you relate to that.
Some people he's oobleck.
So to some people, God is oobleck. So it doesn't matter what, it's just what you relate to. Yeah. But come up with something and see if that helps you.
Visualize it kind of as you pray. You know? Yeah, help you build that relationship, because I guess it is kind of hard to pray or really like talk to something that you can't see, you don't have a visual to,
Right.
That's tough. It's like talking on the phone, or it's like,
But at least
it's
on the
hard.
phone you have a voice.
You have a voice.
A voice to relate to.
Yeah, but
so.
even with that, even with just a voice, it's hard too, because
Sure.
it's like, you don't have that sort of same back and forth, that body language, those things to kind of read off of.
Right.
So I guess if you visualize it, you can kind of have like a body language to go off of, things
Right.
like that,
The other thing that I like to tell people is to write their prayers down.
Yeah.
Especially if you're uncomfortable speaking. Even in your head, some people tell me they feel uncomfortable praying just in their thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what to say, and I always tell people, well, you don't have to say anything special. Just ask what you want, or say what you want to say. But if you really just feel funny doing it that way, write it down.
Mm-hmm.
I think that just gives a little more energy to it anyways. It's not that it makes God get your prayer any easier, but it's just you are taking the time to put pen to paper.
Yep.
And to scratch out that message, whatever it might be, or request. And so that's another thing that people can do to sort of grow their prayer practice, is
Mm-hmm.
to put it down. And just dear God, right? Easy as that. Dear God, and then
Dear God, help.
please help.
Help.
But do be specific in what you want help for. You don't have to be specific in what the solution is, because, like I said, when
I
I'm
always
praying,
know.
I don't know what the solution should
Yeah.
be. Yeah, I have no clue. I am struggling, and I don't know how to get out of this. So,
Yeah.
but be specific. Write down or say what you need help with, and God's listening.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you for joining us.
Remember that God loves you, and I'm sending angels your way.
If you'd like to know more about Missy Reno Smith, her readings, her artwork, please visit MissyRenoSmith.com. You can also find In Spirit Podcast on TikTok, X, and Instagram, as well as YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcasts.